Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at Super Saiyan 4 Goku, part of the Dragon Ball GT batch of figures from, obviously, SH Figuarts. Now, it is important for me to note, I'm going to do it right off the top because I don't want to forget to do it. This one's made in Vietnam, as opposed to the ones that are made in China. The ones made in China are like the ones we've been getting forever. They have the same quality control that we can expect from this line. Now, the Vietnamese ones seem to have a lower standard of quality control, and this guy does suffer from that. So keep that in mind as I'm going through it. Pay attention now. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell this ahead of time when pre-ordering or things like that, which figures are being made where. I don't think they're telling us that, but in my reviews I'm going to start covering it because it seems to make a difference. That's unfortunate, but that seems to be the case. Hopefully that doesn't always be the case. English. That's not always the case, but for now it is. So anyway, there's some good stuff and some bad stuff here. So let's go ahead and get them off the stand and take a closer look. Before we get into the review, I just want to cover this real quick, just in case. If you happen to like import these guys from like Ami or something like that, they don't have the bluefin sticker anywhere, and you don't see a made in China thing on the back or made in Vietnam. They're showing it right down here in the front corner. Anyway, it always shows it on here. It'll say made in Vietnam or made in China right here on the front for the import releases, and then on the other ones it'll be a bluefin sticker somewhere. So just keep that in mind. If you are not sure and you haven't seen a review for something yet, then you can check for yourself if you're able to see the packaging. Okay, so here he is. He stands roughly, after all this time, we finally got one, about 14 centimeters to the top of the head, including the hair is closer to 16.5. And that's going to make him about, let's say, 5.5 inches and 6 3/8, something like that. So definitely has some size to him. They definitely went for the thick, chunky look for Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I happen to think that's the way they should have done it, so I'm very happy about that. I will say, though, they made his hips very wide. Like, poofy pants are fine, but they don't poof instantly. They would still be hanging down. So if you just took a little bit away from the hip, like, I don't even know if you guys can tell right now. Like, they look kind of chunky. Let's get the tail out of the way. And if you just hide a little bit of the hip right there, I think it makes him look so much better. Anyway, it's still the chunk look, which some people are going to like, some people aren't. That's up to you. It's not inaccurate. So I'm okay with it personally. But let's go ahead and do a quick question of the day. How do you feel about Super Saiyan 4 Goku? Are you a fan of this design? Not the figure, but the character design itself. It's definitely out there compared to all the other hair color changes for Goku. I'm personally a fan of Super Saiyan 3. That's about as much transformation of the body that I would like, but I do think it is a cool design, and it fit well enough into the story, so I'm okay with it. I like that they brought some hair back for his monkey nature, but I think it's pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about the aesthetic. The pants are shaded, I think, really well, which is interesting because the ones made in China haven't had good directional shading in a long time. His pants do have a lot of decent shading on there. It almost looks organic, like it's actually just shadows. But it is shading throughout. You can see a lot of this orangish. It's like a slight orange, kind of a beigey orange shaded throughout the pants. That they definitely shot in this direction, which gives it a shadow look, which I like. It does come up through here and onto the crotch area. I think it looks really, really good. I'm happy with that. I will say the pink on him is very neon pink, hot pink. Some people won't like that. Some people will want more of like a duller, redder pink. I think it's fine. I could go either way. Again, I think it's been drawn or colored both ways, so that's okay. But there is no shading throughout any of the rest of the figure. It's just the pants. So that's a bummer. We have all this texture on here and no shading. Other thing to note, the chest is all painted. This is all painted. This design in here, we'll talk about that in the articulation section, having his chest all segmented like that. Not my favorite look. I don't think that's a great idea, the way they did it. But we'll see how it functions. But anyway, this is all painted beige or tan skin tone. But the hands and face are not, and neck, and they're all molded, and it doesn't quite match. In person, I think you can tell on camera, this has a little bit more brown in it than these. And it does stand out. It may not be as obvious under normal lighting, and especially with the hair putting a lot of shadow on him, but you can even see his head doesn't want to stay where it is because of the loose joints. So yeah, there are definitely some issues in the aesthetics department. I do think the sculpt of the hair is nice. I'm pretty happy with that. I like the extra shading they have on the face. It's really just they painted the lines in there. Let me grab one of these heads so you can see. They just painted the lines in, but they did a really good job with the sculpt and paintwork on this face. It's a little bit more angular. The mouth is a little bit more recessed on the open mouth, which we don't normally see. I think they did a really good job with the heads. And the sculpt overall is good. I do like the fur and the way they gave him a nice thick chest like they should have. I'm very pleased with that. but I do think the mismatching colors there is a big no-no. Not happy with that. I'm only going to go 8 out of 10 for the aesthetic. The mismatching colors, to whatever degree that's going to be noticeable to you, is going to affect how you feel about that, but it is an issue that I don't like. So yeah, it's aesthetically pleasing otherwise though. Okay, other thing to talk about, the accessories for the faces. We do have the neutral face that comes on them in the package. We have a smirky face, we have an angry teeth showing face, and then we have the yelling face I showed you. They're all sculpted really well and painted. These are some of the best heads. I keep saying that on certain releases and they keep outdoing themselves, and then other ones aren't as good, but these ones are really good. Love these faces, fantastic faces. For the hands, we have the 2 fist hands, we have the 2 instant transmission hands, we have the 2 martial arts hands, we have the 2 clenchy hands with pegs for the blast effect, then we have 2 clenchy hands without pegs for no blast effect, then we have the more wide open hands, all very nicely sculpted, and then we do get the blast effect. It's a new version of the Kamehameha. It's not the same thing we've gotten before, just in new colors. This is a much improved version because it has the peg hole for the hand, it has a space for it to go against his body so that there's not like light shafts poking through him, you know, like it actually can fit near him so he can hold it properly. That's cool. Pegging the things in works better. It's an all-around much better blast effect. Love it. And I love that they included one. And they did some shading on it and it looks really good. So I'm pleased. I'm jazzed. The only thing we're missing is a flight stand. Don't really care about that. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 for the accessories. Very happy with this batch of accessories. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. We're going to start with the hair. These guys here have... They feel like ball pegs. I guess they could be hinges. I haven't pulled on them to find out because I'm afraid they'll break. But it feels like they can move around plenty. And that's good. That should allow you to move the head however you want. You can have them hanging down closer to the neck. Or like in the more neutral pose. That's fine. You should be good with the hair. Then we do also get these 2 separate... 2 here. Or this is one... These 2 pieces is 1 piece. And these 2 pieces are... Not is. 1 piece. They're on ball hinges. So you can move those around a little bit. And that'll help with posability to some degree, so that's fine. Should I pull? Let me just remove the front part of the hair and the face to talk about the articulation. I'm afraid to pull on these ones made in Vietnam. They are made out of a more brittle plastic. That more recent Goku with the goofy faces, he's known for breaking if you pull on the head, so I'm scared. But it's also very loose. The tolerances are not as good as they should be, but it is a double ball peg neck, so that's good, especially since you have all this extra hair. You don't have the room to finagle a ball hinge. And I like that. The double ball peg just lets you do what you want to do as much as you can. So that's pretty cool. The neck is on a ball peg as well. It's very stiff, but it does move. So you can do that. So just be careful, but you can do that. You don't want to break the hair or grind it against anything, but it does technically function. So that's okay. Let me put the face on for the rest of the review so he doesn't look terrible. Okay. And the hair. There we go. Now for the shoulders and the butterfly system, it's not really a butterfly joint. They tried some new stuff here. This is like a floating butterfly joint that just kind of shimmies around, which is not my favorite thing in the world. It doesn't serve that much of a purpose. Like, it does work. I guess it's fine. I don't know. I think for this guy, so let me put it this way. It does work functionally, technically it works, but because of the way they had to do the hair around the muscles and things, it just looks kind of weird on this guy. And once he's posed, it's not going to be super noticeable. But like having a gap there and having the muscle, like having the pec go here and then having another line for the pec up there, it's just kind of strange, but it's not bad. It's kind of a good idea. I kind of like to see how it's going to be used in future implementations. But so far I'm okay with it. And then you do get your ball peg on top of that for the shoulder, and you get your hinge. So he gets good enough range, a little bit better than horizontal, so that's fine. Full rotation, of course. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow. That's good. They sculpted the hair all the way through. I love that. I love when we see sculpt work on joints. It's all the way through on the top and the bottom of the elbow. That's definitely the way to do it. Very pleased with that. For the wrists, we do have the pink in there, which is good because it goes on the hand and on the hinge, and that's just a little ball hinge, so that's fine. For the torso, do we have the hinge inside? If we do, it's very tiny or very tight. I do think they just did ball pegs, and I'm afraid to pull on it, so I'm not going to do that. But it feels to me like it's just a couple of ball pegs, like a double ball peg here and a ball peg here, and he just moves around, and it works pretty well. He leans back. I mean, I think it's not a ton of range, but it does work, so I'm okay with it. It could be better. Side to side is pretty solid. Then you do get your rotation and your floaty belt, so that's all fine. I like that. We have a slightly different design here for the legs. We don't have that extra piece that a lot of people complain about. Some people are going to like the way this is shaped, some people aren't. I don't care, I'm indifferent about the looks of it because hips are always going to look weird on baggy pants. Here's my thing. It works fine going forward, looks fine, no problem, but they did sculpt cheeks on him a little bit, and that means they don't go back. And we're not going to look at his ass too much. I'm guessing most people aren't going to be looking at him from behind, so it would be better to be able to bring the leg back for posing from the front. So I'm a little bit bummed out that they put some cheeks on him. That's not great. Going out to the side works. This design is super functional, and it is closer to like the SH Figuarts Chun-Li with these pieces in here. I think they've done it for one other, maybe two other Dragon Ball figures, but it's definitely a functional style of doing the hips. I'm fine with it. The problem is the tolerances are not great again. We do have loose joints in here and very soft spots in certain places. So that's a problem. That's coming from that new factory in Vietnam. New, I put in air quotes. It's not as good as it should be. We do get our thigh swivel, that's fine. Double jointed knee, one of the better looking knees we've seen. It's not the best, but it's definitely okay. No real problems there. It looks way better than Tien's, so there's that. But that's good. I like that. And they do have paint inside the knee. So there's like some things that are being done better in this factory, it seems, but the tolerances are definitely not as good as they should be. Speaking of, we have ball hinges for the ankles, which I like, but this part is super loose. He does not like to stand. It's very loose on the hinge, and there's no good way to tighten that. So that sucks. But you do get a ball hinge, so you get good ankle rocker, you get good range, good enough range going forward, good enough going back. Toe hinge is fine. It's still not a good toe hinge. They never do good toe hinges, but it's too loose. So that's a problem. And then lastly, we have the tail, which you have to peg in, and that scared the crap out of me because I thought for sure it was going to break. And then rotating it scares me because it feels like it's going to break. Oh gosh. Oh, that doesn't feel good. That's what, nope. Okay, so we have the very looseness here again. Very looseness is what I'm calling it. Don't love it. It's not terribly floppy, but also in certain spots it is. So that kind of sucks. I'm just going to leave the tail kind of like that on my guy probably and just let it dangle. But yeah, we definitely have some QC issues. But all in all, I'd say his articulation's pretty good. I'm not in love with these new shoulder designs. I don't like that, but it doesn't really matter if I like it or not. It depends on how you guys feel about it, because it works well enough. So that's fine. Okay, articulation, 7 out of 10. Too loose, but mostly functional. So I think that's a fair assessment. Okay, this has been a long review. Let's go ahead and just wrap it up. Final verdict on this guy being what fans have been waiting for so long. I think it's a good enough release. I think if this came out of the Chinese factory, I said that funny. If it came out of the Chinese factory, I think it'd be a little bit of a stronger, maybe a slightly higher rating, stronger release. But it's still a good one. I still think you guys should track it down. Just be aware the loose ankle things is gonna suck. That's annoying, and there's nothing you can really do about that. Putting something in between the two halves of the ball hinge, maybe like a slip of paper if you can get it in there, but maybe that'll work. And maybe they won't all be loose. You guys can let me know how you find your figure to be, but it's still a strong release. I'm going to go ahead and give it an overall 8 out of 10. I love the effect part. I love the sculpt. We have a lot of good shading. The articulation generally works really well. If it wasn't for the looseness, this guy'd be an easy 9. Maybe even higher because we got the effect part and a bunch of hands and good heads. I'm tempted to go 9 right now, but the looseness is definitely a problem. If a figure can't stand, that's no bueno. But I'm going to leave it at 8. That seems fair. Good release. I'm going to recommend you pick it up. Obviously, it's an 8, but there are those issues. And again, please let me know if you guys find your figures to be any different than mine. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.